Hey guys! Welcome to Pen, Picture, and Chat. I'm your host, Taylor Faye, and I'm super excited to bring you this episode. I talked to a comedian about his experience working in Chicago. Today with us we have Christian Henningsmeyer, a local comedian, talking to us about what it's like to be a comedian in Chicago. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, Christian?
I believe you're gonna hear an accent because I'm from Venezuela, so I'm sorry. Like you're gonna put closed captions in some parts of this.
Please don't apologize for being Venezuelan, Christian.
I apologize. I feel sorry for being Venezuelan. It's different. Yeah, Venezuelans will know. I believe it's tough because Chicago has a lot of competition because there are so many talented people in Chicago. So to stand out, you gotta be like really, really good, have really nice connections. I have heard of people who are mild, let's say, here, and they go to some other places and they kill in those other places. And I believe it's because being here is, you gotta be better. You gotta like improve fast to stand out. And maybe that's something that other cities, maybe smaller cities, don't have. Like there's a group in Facebook called like Chicago Comedy Scene, and it has right now like more than 6,000 like in the group. Let's say from those 6,000, like 800 are like active comics in Chicago. From those 800, like 300 are really active, like they go to open mics regularly. And for those 300, like 100 are the ones who are getting spots at shows. And from those 100, 50, 60, maybe less, are the ones who are getting at Laugh Factory, who are getting at Zanies, who are getting headlining gigs, who are traveling because they get booked from other cities. So there's 1,000 people that want those 60 spots. Mm-hmm. If you want to be there, you gotta like work a lot to get there. Yeah. I believe maybe in other cities it's like the same, but it's like just start maybe with 200 people. Mm-hmm. And you need 60 spots. So it will be maybe easier to get into those 60s.
Yeah.
So I believe it's tough, and not just for comedy. I believe like all arts are the same. It's like it's tough in Chicago, but it'll make you improve like faster.
Yeah. Do you feel like you see a lot of familiar faces through like the comedy scene? Those like 800 or however many. Do you see a lot of familiar people, or you make like a lot of friends through that connection?
Yeah, there's like circles. Let's say and there's people who you can see in every open mic. There's people you can see in the shows, and there's people you always see like in the bigger shows, and sometimes those three like merge. There are some open mics that you can see a person who is headlining Laugh Factory and he goes to the open mic, or sometimes you get to catch a friend you meet in open mics in a show. So you see a lot of familiar faces. So there will be those like 300 people, 100 people. You always see them on the scene. Mm-hmm. And those are the ones that you know, like these people are working to get to the 60s to the 50 people. And if you're not there, I believe that's the thing. If you're not there doing the work, if they don't see you also, that's how you don't get to the 60s. Because it's a lot of networking, a lot of knowing people. And luckily I've been getting shows. And I know people put me in the shows because they're like, oh, I saw you in this place and I told this person like that you're good or you have like nice jokes. So yeah, to make it here, you gotta be there and be around the people. And you see a lot of times the people who are trying to make it as you always see them on the same spots.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that you also, like, sort of on the opposite end of that, do you see a lot of people that enter in, they're new to this, and do you feel like you see a lot of people that
come in to try, and then they're like, this is too much for me, and then peace out pretty quickly. Is there a lot of that? Do you see that happen often?
Yeah, dude, you don't remember too much the names, because basically that's what happened. They go in and maybe they stick to one open mic because they feel like comfortable in that open mic. And there's people who do that, and you just see them in one open mic or two, and that's it. And there's other people that you saw them for like 3 months, 2 months, and you didn't see them again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot of faces that I remember that, oh, you were doing this, and then they didn't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. There's one, I don't remember his name, but I met him when I was starting here, and he was like doing good, but in just one open mic. And recently I saw him at Lincoln Lodge as a customer. He was like, no, I try comedy, it's too much, because it's a lot of work, and in this city, like, I believe it's frustrating for most people not getting booked, because open mics is like sacrifice.
Yeah.
Of time, of money, and of energy, and you don't get anything. Like, most people don't go to open mics, and I quote a friend of a friend that says, open mics are like where comics go to practice. So it's not like an enjoyable plan for people to go to an open mic. They go to shows. And since in Chicago there's too many shows, you have a lot of options. So I do believe, like, doing it, like doing the work is exhausting, and it's frustrating to not get booked, and that rules people out, and that's the people who you don't see again, because they're like, this is too much work, it's exhausting, I spend the money, I'm not getting anything back, and they just drop out.
So you talked about how these open mics are sort of like a sacrifice and practice. What keeps you going to them? What keeps you practicing and doing that sacrifice, even though
I love stand-up.
Yeah.
Because I love stand-up. I love stand-up. I love to have the opportunity to make people laugh. And I know since I started like 7 years ago back in Venezuela, and I know from the start that it's a sacrifice. But you can sacrifice for the things that you love. And I know I love this. And that's why I go through the sacrifice. Sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes, like, I don't. There are days I'm like, I don't want to do anything today. I don't want to go to an open mic, because you're gonna do jokes for other comics, and maybe not get like anything in return, and it's exhausting. But you gotta network. You gotta be there, because you never know. Like, I went to a show, and the person who was headlining the show, his name is Anthony Fuentes. He has helped me a lot, because that day I did really good. And he talked to me after the show, and he was like, hey, have you talked to this person? Have you talked to this person? And he's helping me a lot now, like, with the networking. And that happened because I was there. So I know the sacrifice of doing it is being there, trying new jokes, and sometimes you just gotta eat, like, bump, like, do bad, and know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because it's tough. Like, I believe stand-up is really tough, because if there's like a music band and they don't do good, it's like 5 people off stage. There's like, oh, we didn't do good. If it is open mic, it's you.
Yeah, you're by
like,
yourself. Huh?
Yeah, you're gonna blame anybody. There's people who blame the audience. Never blame the audience. Like, sometimes the audience are less receptive, but I've seen like audience that are like, they're like not laughing at anything, and then one person flip that over. So it's never the audience, but it's you. It's just you against anything, and you are the one who's being judged. And like, I knew that was gonna happen from the beginning, but when I do good, I love it, and that's why I just keep going. And now I'm getting on shows. This year I've been on a lot of shows. Actually, I did Laugh Factory.
Hell yeah.
at the Life Factory like last Saturday, and that was one of my yearly goals. I was like, I want to be booked on Life Factory, and now I gotta find a new goal because I make this one. But that comes with sacrificing a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talked about those moments when one bombs, and you talked about how like another person can flip it. If one tries to flip it themselves, how do you do that? Do you have any advice for people that might be watching and be like, man, if I start to get that, like, feel like I'm bombing, how do you flip it if you're gonna try and do it?
Well, I have flipped it like sometimes, but one advice one person gave me that this stick to my mind is do a stand up until you do it because you're having fun. Like, it doesn't matter if people have fun. It doesn't matter if like your friends tell you that they didn't like you. If you had fun, do it. And that changed my mind because it was like, okay, I'm gonna do it to have fun myself. Usually what happens is that people see that you are enjoying your time on stage and they get into the same feeling, and that's how you can flip it. Because if you are like, the worst days I have had in Chicago is those times I was like, I wanna kill today, I wanna do my best today I wanna make people laugh, and I felt the pressure of that. So if the first joke doesn't land, you start feeling like
The anxiety.
yeah, the anxiety, and it's like, okay, the second joke. Is the second joke doesn't land, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna destroy what I was gonna say. I'm gonna say a new my best joke. If you say your best joke and it doesn't land, your mind is destroyed. Like you cannot, and people can see that. People can see like, oh, he was not confident on stage. He was nervous. He was not doing good. He forgot his jokes. People know that. You think they don't, but they can notice that. But if I am like, I'm gonna have fun and I'm gonna do my best here, and but I'm gonna have fun. If the first joke doesn't land, it's like, well, I'm having fun. I said that I wanted to practice this joke. I said it like, oh, it didn't work. Well, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
So not having that pressure helps a lot to flip it, because people are like, oh, well, the first joke wasn't good, but he's having fun.
Yeah, the most important thing is the fun. That's cool. So you talked about, you said you started comedy in Venezuela 7 years ago?
7 years ago.
So when did you come to the US to work?
3 years ago. Like, first I was in Miami, then I came to Chicago, and I started like doing comedy like almost right away as soon as I got here, but then pandemic. And then everything closed, all bars closed, and there was like Zoom shows, but I mean,
Yeah.
I hated that. Like, I did Zoom shows in Spanish, like mostly for Venezuelan Zoom shows. I was not ready at all to do like Zoom shows in English, so I didn't do comedy. And then the pandemic ends, and shows started going up again, and I was like not in the moment to be until February of last year. So I've been doing comedy in English for like constantly for 1 year and 3 months, and I enjoy it so much. But yeah, so I came here 3 years ago, but I've been doing comedy for 1 year and 3 months constantly. That's, yeah.
Cool. So you haven't been in Chicago that long, and you're already like at Laugh Factory and stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super good.
That's awesome.
It's awesome, yeah. I believe what helped me, first, I believe the accent helps a little bit, like I'm different, let's say. Second, I believe I have like experience, like I have to change my language. But the knowing how to write a joke was still with me. So I have this, it's like I've been here for 1 year, but I have the experience of someone who has been doing jokes for 7. And you can notice that on the jokes, and people have told me in English, have told me that I have really nice like joke writing.
Yeah.
And that came from Venezuela, because there I used to work in a place that was like the biggest comedy company in the country, and we used to write like scripts and jokes for other shows or sketches. And since it was Venezuela, I believe this is how you improve. We had many political comedy like shows, and Venezuela, the news were not brightful. They were not good. But we have to do jokes with what we have. So the news were like, oh, we had a power shortage on a hospital and 10 kids died. You need to do 2 jokes about it. And it's like, obviously you cannot mock the case, you cannot mock like what happened, because it's a tragedy. Yeah, it's something horrible, but you gotta find a way to make this funny.
Yeah.
So you gotta explore angles, and you have like someone who is like, oh, this one, I don't like it. Write another one. The other one, I don't like it. So you write like 10, 15 jokes for something that is not funny. But if you make it funny, that's how you improve. Like taking something and exploring like, how can I make this situation funny? And that's how I improve. So now there's a situation which is actually funny from the beginning. It's easy to make a joke, because it's like, if I can make a joke about kids dying in a hospital, like probably I can make a joke about someone falling on the street. Like it will be easy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wow.
So it was tough, but that teach me how to write jokes.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild. So
It is.
yeah, I can like, that's crazy. So my question is, so being like relatively new to Chicagoland specifically, how do you incorporate Chicago or Chicago culture into your like sets, or do you do that at all? Like, how does that work?
I don't. No, I believe like my jokes are from my perspective of looking at things. My jokes are mostly observational and mostly about personal experiences. So I never try to, there's a new about this and I'll try to make that a joke. I don't do that. So so maybe that's why I don't try to incorporate like forced Chicago stuff, because they're talking about this, I need to talk about this. Like it doesn't work like that for me. But if something happens to me in Chicago and I like, this is funny and I can make this into a joke, that's how I incorporate. Like one of the jokes I have is that I was walking to the CTA and it was like 11 p.m. at night and there was a crackhead and he was screaming by himself, alone. He was alone, and he was screaming like, "Give me everything! Give me the money! Give me whatever!" By himself, alone. But he was where the CTA was, so I kept walking to the CTA, and he saw me, and he started walking towards me, and then when we were close, he leaned to me and he was like, "What's up?" And I said, "What's up?" And I kept walking. And then I was like, he wanted to rob me. And what he was doing before was practicing. He was practicing what he was gonna say. That's why he was himself saying like, "Give me everything, give me the..." He was just practicing. And that was funny, and I made that into a bit. And the bit is like, I speak about being Venezuelan, like as a Venezuelan, you're not gonna rob me. And I made like that what he was thinking, like, "Give me everything, but I want the money." Okay, give me the money. People don't have money usually. Like maybe they can Venmo me. No, that's too much. Okay, and he just keep going until he got the "give me everything, give me the money, give me whatever," and then the screen like, yeah, I got it. And then when he was close to me, he's like, "What's up?" And I kept going. He's like, "I just practiced it. Like, what's up? Like, why would you say what's up? I just practiced that." So that's kind of the bit, like, a resume of the bit. But that happened because something happened to me in Chicago. It's not like, I need to... I know Chicago have, like, a problem with gun violence that is really dangerous. I'm not like, oh, this is how Chicago is. I need to make a joke like this. So it's more like what happens to me in any situation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just being in this environment is naturally gonna.
Yeah, it's gonna bring stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I like how it happens naturally.
Did you like how they try to rob me naturally? Yeah,
That
nice.
was- I mean-
Nice, Taylor. That's a nice thing to say.
I'm all about robbery.
Yeah, I like that they try to rob you.
So I wanted to ask you, because you talked about this a little bit already. I wanted to ask you about the challenges that come with working in Chicago. You talked about how there's like, there are a lot of opportunities, but there's also like a lot of people. What other sort of challenges do you feel like you face in Chicago?
I believe is one that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of opportunities, but a lot of people, and Chicago is a really diverse city and really welcoming city, and that's not a challenge per se if you know how to manage yourself, but it's like you're gonna write jokes for all types of people. So that's why I do it in English, because there's a community big enough of Venezuelans and Latinos here that I could just do comedy in Spanish and feel like comfortable with my own language. It's like I like the challenge of I want to make people from the suburbs laugh. I want to make people from the South laugh. I want to make people from the LGBTQ community laugh. And I wanted to do it with comedy that all of them can enjoy. And I believe that's a challenge of Chicago, because if you want to make it, you got to do that. You cannot just do, oh, I do just comedy for Latino people. If you do that, maybe you have a name, something like big on yourself, on that community, but then you cannot like headline Laugh Factory because it's like you're not gonna be funny there because we have more type of audience. Like I know like there's comics that prefer to go to like there's sometimes there's like comedy in drag shows, and they're really really good at that. But if you're just good at that, you're gonna stick with that, and that's like your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So one challenge is like trying to make really good jokes that will work to all audience, and that is what's gonna bring you up, because people can see that. People can see that, oh, he's just funny for white people, or he's just funny for black people, or he's just funny for Latino people. But if you try to put all of that together, they're like, oh, he's funny enough, he can headline this show that all, because in Laugh Factory they're not like, oh, this show is only for white people, only for that. You can see like how diverse it is. The show I did at Laugh Factory, it was Latin XL show, and the majority of the audience were like black people, and that's amazing. And to make them laugh with jokes that are for Latinos, because I tried that. My set was gonna be like something like, oh, well, it's Latin XL, I'll try to do my most Latino jokes. And to make them laugh with that content is amazing, because it's like, okay, this is something that all people can like, and that's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Kind of like finding those like base human things that are like common for all of us.
Yeah, like depression and sadness. No, okay, but that's common apparently.
Yeah. So you're talking about a moment of silence. You're talking about like Laugh Factory. Is that your favorite gig that you've done in the city, or is there another gig that like you're like, man, this was killer?
Okay, I have done Zanies Rose Month in Spanish, opening for. I have done it like a couple of times, opening for friends for Venezuelan comics they have huge names, so they're gonna headline Zanies, and there's one that I opened for a guy called Led Varela, and it was like 260 people, and I killed. It was amazing. Like the people loved me. At some point, I didn't saw the light. They flash you a light when you have 1 minute. I didn't saw it, so I was like, well, I don't know if they flashed me the light, but I guess I'm gonna do one more joke. And I heard one of the person from the audience say like, no, just keep going. And I was like, dude, there's a headliner after me. But that kind of reaction was amazing because it's like, there's a person you pay a ticket to see, but you like me so much that you will allow me to keep going. That's amazing. That was one of my favorite shows I've done here, but it was in Spanish. So my goal is to have shows like that in English. Like Life Factory, I love it, and it was my first time, and I love it a lot. And there's one at my buddies that I kill, and there was a heckler. It was so funny. There was a heckler, and he looked like an Oompa Loompa.
Oh.
And he was talking during the whole time. He was Mexican, and when I came in, my name, Christian Henningsmeyer, and this is how I look. I don't look like, oh yeah, clearly Latino. I don't look like that. So I went up stage. I didn't open my mouth, and he shouted, this is Spanish, but he shouted, Chino, japonés, solo sabe hablar inglés, which translates to Chinese, Japanese, you only know how to speak English. That's, and my first words were like in Spanish, like, yo hablo español, mamá huevo. Like, people were laughing. I'm like, he speaks so much, but he looks like an Oompa Loompa that ate too much chocolate. I tried to make it go on stage, and he's like, at that point, he was like, no, now you're shy. So people were so with me. And that moment, like, was like heat up the room a lot. And then I killed my set, and that was amazing. And I love to roast battle. Roast battle Chicago is amazing.
What's that?
It's not stand up, but it's like there you have two comics, and you have to write like 7 jokes to roast the other person. I have done it twice. But the second time I won 5-0, and it was amazing because the first time I lost, and I was like, I need a win. I need the win, and I wrote like for weeks, and I have a lot of of jokes, and I won 5-0, and it was like, I felt like I needed this, and I wanted to go again, but that show also was like super heat up, like people were like shouting and screaming. It was amazing. Like when you feel that people enjoy it so much, that's why you do it. That's why you go to the open mics. That's why you do the sacrifice, because people outside are so grateful. They're like, oh dude, I loved your joke. This joke was amazing. Oh, you made me laugh some more, and that's amazing. So having that like feedback after is amazing.
Mm-hmm. So before we actually started filming, we talked about you doing like sketch writing and things like that. It never happened. So do you often like find yourself collaborating with other comics or other like Chicago artists to create things?
Not. I hope it will happen, but not so far, because Chicago being Chicago, I don't know if it's Chicago or if it is United States, people are always busy. So it's really hard to. I have tried, and I will keep trying. At some point, it will happen, but to get people to have like the same open schedule to record something is fucking difficult. It's really difficult. Like it doesn't happen that easy. So what I've been doing is like I just write what I want to shoot. If I can find people, I shoot it with them. If not, I shoot it by myself. Mm-hmm. Because waiting for having like the perfect time to shoot stuff, it hasn't happened. Yeah. So like I talked with 2 comics to record a sketch, and they were like, oh, when do you plan to do it? All of us have different like open moments in our schedule, so I haven't had the time to be like, oh, let's do it this day. Mm-hmm. So I want to collaborate. I want to create more content, because being a comic and being right now an artist is putting a lot of stuff on your social media, and that's exhausting. Mm-hmm. So that's why I want to do more stuff. But if I have the time, I'll do it by myself. If I have time to collaborate with someone, I will collaborate. I will love that. Yeah. But it depends on people. Like I said this to a friend. Even with friendships, it's difficult. Right now, if you're like 19, 17, 16, I'm gonna say all the numbers. Enjoy the time you have. Enjoy the time you have to share with your friends, with your family, with going out, because you have time. When you hit like 25, 30, you need two things to make one dinner or party, or let's not say party, let's say a dinner happen. You need three things. You need both of you, no, not just one, both of you need the time, both of you need the money, and both of you need the energy. And usually it doesn't happen. Usually like, oh, I want to go and I have the money, but I'm busy. Or I can do it and I have the energy, but I don't have any money right now. And that's just you. Imagine like putting those three things together with two people. And now imagine it's like there's nothing gonna come out of this, like money, like on money, on or food. It's just like, oh, let's shoot this and then everybody goes home. It's like they're not gonna pay you at the beginning because I don't have money to pay people to do sketches.
Yeah.
So it makes everything more difficult. It's like it's a lot of things that need to happen that for people to collaborate. It's not that easy unless when everybody has to work, everybody have to do stand up, everybody have like their own like time to do stuff. So enjoy your time. If you are like, I don't know, 18, 17, 16, all the numbers, you have time. You have time, and the money is from your parents, so enjoy that.
There you go. And after that, though, you're screwed. You gotta work.
Like, we're here working.
So, but talking about money a little bit, do you feel like in Chicago you can make a decent living working as a comic?
You can.
Yeah.
But you gotta be on the 60 people.
Yeah.
But you can. I know people who live out of comedy, and yeah, definitely you can. Because if you do it, like, if you have a really nice, like, networking and you're really good here in Chicago, other cities may want you. And other cities pay decent. And in Chicago, maybe they're not gonna pay you like, oh, 500 for the night, but you have like 3-4 shows in a night. And yeah, like you can make 150, 200 at night, depending on how many shows you have. And I believe on a weekend, on a busy weekend, let's say you can make 400 or 500. That it doesn't sound much, but if you do that for 4 weeks, it's like 2K plus whatever you have, like, oh, making sketches, making this, making content, making that. I believe you can live being a comic. You gotta aim for being in the people who get books constantly, and the people who get books on shows that they will pay them like good money, and on the kind of people that go outside, like, oh, you have a gig in Wisconsin and they're gonna pay you like 400, because that happens. I know friends that they pay me 600 to do this gig, so I drove there, I did the gig, and I came back, and they make 600 in a day. So it is possible. It is a lot of work because you gotta beat 940 people to be on those spots, but yeah, it is possible.
Yeah, wow. So you talked about earlier, how being, going and being at Laugh Factory was like your yearly goal.
Yeah.
And you talked about how you kind of want to figure out what your next goal is. Do you have anything in mind? Anything that you...
I put goals for myself for like 5 years.
Yeah.
The first year was getting into one show. Doesn't matter, because I was just doing open mic. I was like, okay, the goal for this year is getting booked in a show, and that happened the first year. The second year, that is this one, it was like, okay, now I'm doing a lot of like shows, but I want to be booked on a Laugh Factory show. Now I did that. The next for this year will be getting booked in a show at Zanies. In English, because again, I have done it in Spanish, but I want to do it in English. And for next year will be like try to be regular at Laugh Factory, Zanies, and be booked on at headlining gig. So every year I have like new challenge for myself. So this is not over. I was in Life Factory, but now I'm aiming for Zanies.
Mm-hmm.
And in 5 years, I hope like I'll be nice comic part of the 60 maybe.
Yeah.
And in Chicago, like that's the goal for the next 5 years. So it's a lot of work. It won't happen overnight. Like it won't be, if you're trying to be a comic and you're listening to this, it won't be like, oh yeah, the first year I'm gonna be headlining Life Factory. No, I've been doing it for 7 years, and I know it's gonna take like at least 5 for me to be on the top comics of Chicago through a lot of work. So if you're starting, have patience. It's gonna take a time, but if you love it, you will do it.
That's amazing. So, you talked about how your goal has also been to, like, do shows mainly in English.
Yeah.
How is that different for you doing shows in Spanish? Like, what are the differences and unique challenges of that for you?
Okay, for me, first, I believe Spanish has like a lower ceiling of success, because yeah, you there's like shows in Netflix, HBO in Spanish there, but they're not the same famous as like Joe Rogan, as my favorite is Bert Kreischer, like Bill Burr. You're not gonna get that famous in Spanish. Like you can get famous, but the difference between someone famous in doing stand-up in Spanish and someone really famous doing stand-up in English is like huge. First, that like the ceiling in Spanish is lower, so I want to just start doing it. I'm far from the ceiling, but still I want to start doing it in the place where my ceiling is higher. And the challenges are, first, it comes naturally to me, like you're more quicker in your own language, so crowd work and all of that, and it's easier in Spanish. Plus, you have like cultural references, and that's a lot easier. Like with because it's my people. Like that's my people. They can understand the references. Like there's a lot of comics that maybe don't make me laugh that much because they use a lot of like reference from experiences that everybody share in the United States, and I don't. Like, oh, do you remember the field trip to what? I'm like, no, because because I didn't do that, and we didn't do that. We don't have field trips in Venezuela. We don't do that.
No.
No, we don't have the money. So it's like the references are so much different. But I do like to do comedy for American audience because, in my perspective, they give you a chance of having a nice storytelling. Like I discussed this with a friend who's close. His name is Francisco Ramos. He's a Venezuelan comic, but he's in LA. He's crushing it in LA. And the conversation was like, they demand the same amount of laugh. They want to laugh quick, but they allow you like more storytelling because they are more, let's say, polite. So if you are bombing, or maybe the storytelling is not catching them, they won't start talking to themselves. They will be like maybe one heckler, or they will be silent and look at you like with a serious face. But Latino audience, if they don't like you, they will start talking to themselves in front of you. They will turn your back at you. They will start like booing you. They don't care. Like Latino audience are more aggressive on that, and I have seen it. Like if they don't like the comedy, they're like in front of the comics, like, oh, this guy is really bad. Like we should go, and you're like, sir, I can hear you. Like, yeah, because you're bad. They don't care. They don't care at all. And I believe like American audience, since they have had for longer time stand up, they understand. Even if they don't like it, they're like, well, this guy is not doing good, but they stay and they listen. And if you catch them at some point in the storytelling, you catch them. But in Latin America, if in the first like 30, 40 seconds you don't make them laugh, immediately it's like this guy is bad. So I believe like American audience gives you that chance of having more storytelling. Like this story about the guy who robbed me. I know like the first 30 seconds, there's no one joke in that. But I can tell the story without the fear of, oh, if they don't laugh here, are not gonna like it, because you're like, okay, I want the crackhead said, like, okay, let's keep going. And if you make them laugh, they approve. Let's say the first part, they're like, oh, this is why. This is why. Latin America is like, you took too long to get there. You know, dilo de una vez rápido.
Yeah, wow.
So I really like to do like stand up in English. I believe that's the major reason, because my jokes are like longer, and I like the storytelling part. Like Bear Kreischer is my favorite comedian, and his storytelling is long, but it's amazing. That is so good that he's now releasing a movie called The Machine about one joke he has, that the storytelling is so amazing. One producer was like, let's make this a movie, and now he has a movie about a joke.
That's crazy.
And amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. So you talked about him. Are there any other comics or comedians that you really look up to, that you might like stylistically be like, oh, I kind of want to do something like that, or anything remotely like that?
Yeah, Bill Burr. Like Robert Kreischer, because his storytelling is amazing, his joke is amazing, and his presence on stage is amazing. And Bill Burr, because he's maybe the most clever comic I have seen. Like the way he writes his jokes and the way he juggles with edgy subjects without being edgy is amazing. He has abortion jokes that no one is like, oh no, we have to cancel Bill Burr. Like I have seen one movement trying to cancel Bill Burr, and he talks about trans people, he talks about the women NBA, he talks about abortion, but the way he does it, he's so clever that he knows that this is not offensive, this is a good joke, people are gonna enjoy it from whatever side they are. And I believe I want to do that. Like I want to write so good that I can touch like edgy points with my opinion, but people will understand like this is a nice joke. Maybe I disagree with his view, but this is a nice joke, and he's not saying any offensive. I just disagree with him, but he can make me laugh even. For me, that's Bill Burr. Like he's amazing. That his abortion joke is amazing because is that he doesn't offend any of the parts, and the joke is hilarious. So Bill Burr and Robert Kreischer, that's like people who I looked up to.
That's really cool, especially because I feel like it ties in to what you mentioned earlier about the diversity specific to Chicago, and how you kind of have to think bigger as far as like the different like types of people and what brings us all together, and that plays into that, I think, and that's really cool, I guess.
Well, another one that I look up a little bit that he does that is like Gabriel Iglesias. I like him a lot. Years ago, and I lost the track of him, but then I saw the special he released on Netflix on the Dodger Stadium. It's like a whole stadium watching this guy, and the whole stadium enjoying this guy, and there were people who all kind of people, and they like the guy because you can speak to any person, because you're not speaking just this kind of people, or this kind of community, or I just speak to Latinos. It's like you can enjoy it because it's like, yeah, he said stuff that are relatable to everybody in a way that is not offensive to anybody. So that's why I enjoy it, because I know in Spanish, I know Latinos that they speak like badly about one kind of people, one kind of community to be funnier, and they are, but it's lousy. It's like you know, like they're funny, but they're not gonna get places. I hate this about. There's a lot. Venezuela is like we're behind on like a lot of subjects, and one of the subjects is about like feminism. I believe we're behind because a lot of the jokes, you know, you have your moment of dick jokes. That there was a moment in America that all the jokes were like, yeah, and well, I'm not gonna tell that to my wife because she's stupid. And people will enjoy and love that. And you are over with that because you're like, okay, this is not funny. Actually, this is, and you need to find better ways to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
In Venezuela, that hasn't happened. So to be funny is like yeah, I'm gonna go with the guy, but I'm not gonna go with my wife because she's so stupid. That's still a joke. Like they're calling women being whores. Like, oh yeah, and she's gonna suck my dick because that's what she do. That's what is funny there still. And I believe that's why they need to improve, and I don't like that, and that's why I like so much watching stuff here like in English, because it's like they evolved from that and they can make jokes that won't offend people and that they will be funny. And I guess you're like tired of the dick jokes, and people in the comedy scene, they're like, no more dick jokes. Women hate dick jokes.
It's true.
But that was funny 20 years ago, and that's why some people think that could still be funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's people who don't evolve. There's another comic, Anthony Jeselnik. They interview him and they ask him. He's really dark humor, really dark humor, but he does it in a clever way. And they ask him like, do you think like this movement, woke movement, is gonna impact comedy in a bad way? And he's like, not at all. Like, this is like, actually, I believe the woke culture is gonna do a lot of good for comedy, because it's gonna rule out the people who actually are not like funny, because they just make fun of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna give more spaces for people who are actually funny, that doesn't have to like punch down, I believe the phrase you used to, they doesn't have to punch down anybody to get where they are. So it's gonna make people write in more creative ways to not be offensive. I believe that's comedy. Comedy have to be something that you can write so cleverly. Like, if you say stuff about Venezuelans, I won't get mad if it is funny.
Mm-hmm.
If you say something racist or slur against Venezuela, I'm not gonna be mad because I don't care. But a lot of Venezuelans will, and with sense. But if you're funny and what you're saying is funny, it's not gonna be like.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's how comedy needs to evolve. So yeah, the woke movement actually is helping to make us, the comics who wants to still do it, write better, like be more clever.
Mm-hmm.
And I like clever jokes more than someone who is the funniest of the joke is like when they like, oh fucking shit, like fucking shit is not a punchline.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe everything is gonna improve. I don't remember the question, but everything is gonna improve with the comedy.
No, I love that. This is really wonderful. So I feel like this might be kind of in the vein of what you're talking about, but it really does make me curious. Is there a secret to like comedy? If there was one, what would it be? No?
There's not a secret. I believe being funny comes with you, kind of. I believe you can master it. And I believe if you are not funny, you can get to be funny. But it's not gonna be the same. Like to make it, you gotta be naturally funny, not like try to force it. Because you can write jokes amazingly without being funny.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go on stage and you can do good. But I believe if you're naturally funny, the presence is different. Like Bear Kreischer. If you see, I saw him live here in Chicago, and he's amazing. He has amazing jokes, but his presence is so funny that he can be saying whatever and you will laugh because he's naturally funny. There was a point someone faint. They have like a blood sugar stuff and they faint, and he said something that in a serious way, saying like, I need to take care of myself because this shit fucks me up, because once I had a attack like that and I thought I was gonna die, and I don't eat good. I said I'm never quitting drinking alcohol, but I gotta take care of myself. And me watching this, it's like that happened to me once, and he kind of like his voice like cracked, and it was like about to cry. I don't remember what he said just after it, but what he said just after was so funny that it's like, you're saying that you almost die and you're almost crying, but your character is so funny that we laugh either way.
Yeah.
That's naturally. Like I don't believe you can practice that.
Mm-hmm.
You can have really good jokes, but for me, like, this is how I started. Oh, I got a story for the end. How much time do we have? 5? I'm gonna say it after this. A friend. Actually, this is the story.
Please,
ready?
I'm so ready for this story.
This is the story of how I got into stand-up. I was funny with my friends, and there was a friend. She was constantly saying like, you should do stand-up, and I was like, no, it's not the same just being funny with your friends as doing stand-up. She's like, yeah, you should try. At the moment, I have a toxic girlfriend. This is the first time I say this on camera, so it's nice. I had a toxic girlfriend, and she said this to me. I hope you're ready. We need that camera on her face. So look at that camera while I said this.
Okay.
She said to me this. She said, my girlfriend at the moment, she said, when you're going to do a stand-up, let me know, because I don't want to be there, because they're going to make fun of you, and it will be a shame of me when people see you with me when you get down. She said that to me. So I stayed with her for like more months. I don't know why. That's the worst thing someone have ever said to me, and it sticks to my mind. I know it's the words in Spanish. I know them exactly. She said that to me. I didn't try stand up. Then we broke up, and the other girlfriend I had like later, she was super supportive. And just like the worst that can happen is like people won't laugh, but you will see if you like it or not. And then I did it for the first time, and I got like claps from the audience, and I killed my first time doing stand up, and the sensation I had, I was like, this is it. You know when you find what you love, it was that moment. Like I put the mic again in the stand, and my mind was like, this is this.
That's incredible. Wow.
That's the story.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Christian. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
I feel like we're kind of at the end here. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of your stories and anecdotes.
You're welcome.
It's been really cool getting to know you.